told you I ain't got time for that, but nigga, today I got time, cuz.
What's up, guys? Back with another video. Hope you liked last week's or whenever I put it up. I don't really have a schedule for these things, but this time I'm talking about people who talk about bad writing, right? Not to mention they're not even writers themselves. They just think they know what good writing is, but that's talking about bad writing, right? If I feel like you should not call something bad writing just because something you did not like happened, or what you expected wasn't met. And I'm gonna get to that later. But that first point, right? So I was on Instagram, right? And a lot of things go back to anime because that's just my passion, all that other stuff, right? And people were saying that Kishimoto, which is the creator of Naruto, if I'm not mistaken, if I am, feel free to flame me. But Kishimoto, right, was a bad writer because there was some cool techniques he used in Naruto that he only used once, and he didn't bring them back or let you see more than once. And I'm like, you know what? If you're joking around or if you're just like saying that, it's whatever. I don't really care. But to legit think someone is a bad writer because they only used a move or they only used a certain device or a certain scheme once is ridiculous. As a writer myself, there's times where there's something in there that's cool that I'm only gonna do one time because I only think it's cool that one time. The setup is only needed for one time, and there's so much other stuff that I'm gonna put in that I don't even care about this. Like, sometimes people don't understand that the things you care about, the writer does not care about themselves. So I'll give you an example, right? In Naruto, right? One of the things Sasuke did when he was fighting Itachi was Karin. I think that's what it's called. I could be messing it up. I probably am, or whatever. And people were like, why didn't he use that again? Or why didn't he use that at some other point in time as well, or whatever? And maybe there was no setup that Kishimoto felt like putting it in there. Or maybe he just didn't care for that move as much as you did. And just because he didn't put it in there like you wanted it doesn't mean that he's a bad writer. Like, if you felt emotion from Naruto, if you felt the angst from Naruto, if you felt the pain, the happiness, if you were stuck through it to the end, then there's no way that he's a bad writer just because he didn't put some things in, or maybe there was one or two plot holes. You're not going to catch everything. That's just how it is. There's a bunch of editing involved. There's a bunch of things going on, and you're just not going to catch everything. And that's just one of the things I want to talk about. And I guess the follow-up to this would be real quick, expectations, right? So and this goes with anything, as a writer, a director, whatever, there's something you want to put out. For example, I want to give you a circle, right? If I give you a circle, but you are expecting a square, that is not my fault. I never said I was going to give you a square. I never implied that you was going to get a square. I've never once even thought about giving you a square, but you expected from me a square, even though I had to give out my circle first for you to even think about anything. And even if that was a little confusing, I do have a better example. There was this anime called Jujutsu Kaisen, which about like 12 Chinese zodiacs. All of them get together and this type of battle royale type thing to see who's the last one to get 3 wishes. It's a very cool anime in my opinion. And the style of it makes it seem like you don't know who's gonna die and there's a surprise. But the actuality of it was each character dies pretty much an episode. That's how it is. And you know which character is going to die by whose story comes up, whose story pops up. And it's kind of like how do they die that is the surprising part. And who actually wins. Who's the last person to get their story told to see if they, like, who wins, right? That's the main thing. That's what I feel the director, the creator, the author, whatever, wanted to get out of it. Now, people thought it was the first thing I said, which was you don't know who's dying. It's one of those you have to figure out who's gonna get killed and all this other stuff. And when that wasn't the case, they were upset, calling it bad and saying that this isn't good. And I'm like, you can't call something not good because you expected something that the person never wanted to give you. I understand if they wanted to give you that surprise factor and they wanted to give you everything you wanted and they just didn't execute it well, that makes sense, you know what I mean? But to say that they're a bad writer or a bad director or whatever because they had an idea of giving you something and you didn't receive it the way you thought you would have doesn't mean that they're a bad writer. You just didn't get it. You messed it up for yourself. When I told you that this candy was salted caramel and you expected it to be sweet, I never told you it was going to be sweet. You just assumed that because it was candy, it was going to be sweet, and that's not what I was trying to give to you. So that's my thing. Just because something you don't like happens, or just because there's things you don't like or feel like there's things that could have been done differently, doesn't make it bad just because you think that. And if you expect something, make sure it's what the person is trying to give, or else you're going to ruin it for yourself, and that doesn't make it bad either. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you liked some of my wisdom, and I'll catch you next time. Like, share, subscribe, you know the deal. Yeah.